Students and myself Dr. Ravikant Pathak, and today I am going to discuss the next topic of this chapter, structural organization in animals. In the last video we have discussed the types of tissue and their examples. So we have studied 4 different types of the tissue: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. So in this video lecture we will discuss about the first type of the tissue, which is known as the epithelial tissue. Okay, and if you read the sentence, so then what is explaining, so you can see here, first of all, epithelium tissue, this is also known as the protective, tissue. And these epithelium tissues only, if they are present outside the body, it is involves in the function of the protection. It involves in the function of protection. If it is the present outside the body, so it involves in the protection in the function. And if present inside the body cavity, so inside the body, so they involves in the secretion. Okay, so here what we will see the about the description of the epithelium tissue, as well as their examples and types of the epithelium tissue, location, function, and their characteristic feature. So epithelium tissue, also known as the covering tissue. Why we call it covering tissue? Because it have the covered. It covers the outer body surface, inner body surface. Okay, and this is also called the pavement tissue, because if you see their structures appears as a like tiles. So due to this, it is also called as a pavement tissue. Okay, and epithelium tissue, they are classified into 2 different types. One is the simple epithelium and another is the compound epithelium. So simple epithelium is the composed of single layer. If you see here, so they are given. If you read one by one, so what I have given. So simple epithelium, they are composed of the single layer of cells and function as a lining for body cavities. I had already told it is only where the body cavity is found. So this forms the lining. This forms the lining like ducts and tubes. So in the ducts and tubes, it forms the inner lining. It forms the inner lining of the body cavities. Clear? Next, it is the all cells in the epithelium are held together with the little intercellular material. What means of this? You can say, in case of the epithelial tissue, in case of, suppose that this is the epithelial tissue. So here different types of the cells, the group of cells which form the tissue, and they have the little, they have no intercellular material. There is no intercellular material. So due to this, they involves in the protection, compactly packed, no intercellular material. And intercellular material, I had already told, matrix and some glycoprotein natures like collagen, matrix, fibers. So these are considered as a intercellular material. So in case of the epithelial tissue, no intercellular material or little intercellular material present. Okay, so now I am going to discuss, that is the first type of the epithelial cells, and these epithelial cells is called the simple epithelium. I had already told simple epithelium is made up of the single layer, and compound epithelium cells, they have the more than 2 to 3 layers. That is compound epithelium cells, also called the stratified epithelium. Stratified, you know very well, stratification, that is the formation of layer. So simple compound epithelium, also known as the stratified epithelium, because they have the more than 2 to 3 layers of the epithelium. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the first type of the epithelium, and which is known as the simple epithelium. And in this we will discuss about the types and their features and location as well as function. So these 4 topics we will discuss one by one. Okay, so first what they have given about the squamous epithelium cells. Squamous epithelial cells, you can see here. So features: made up of a single thin layer of flattened cells with a irregular boundaries. If you see their boundaries, so their boundary is not regular. You can see their boundary is not regular. Okay, and their boundary is not regular. And if you see, so they appears like flattened. Flattened means like sandwich. If you say, so this appears their structures like sandwich. and single, because this is the simple epithelium, this is the single thin layer. Okay, their location in the walls of blood vessels. You know blood vessels, that is called endothelium. Okay, so blood vessel lining also known as the endothelium. So these blood vessel lining, they have the squamous epithelium and air sacs of the lungs. Air sacs of the lungs, that means you can say air sacs of the lungs. One thing you that is the unit of lungs, you know, that means alveoli. Unit of lungs, you can say that is the alveoli. So alveoli here, air sacs of the lungs, that is the air sacs of the lungs and the wall of the blood vessels, both have the squamous epithelial tissue, and their function is the formation of the diffusion boundary. What is means of the diffusion boundary? Means involves in the gaseous exchange. You know very well, that is the alveoli which is found in the, that is also considered as a unit of lung. These alveoli involves in the gaseous exchange between the blood and that is alveoli, between blood and alveoli. So there is the gaseous exchange takes place. Okay, so next what they have given, next they have given the cuboidal. Cube, you know, cube is the 3D structure. So next what they have given the cuboidal epithelial tissue. Okay, cuboidal epithelial tissue. If you'll see their structure, so they appears like cube. They appears like cube, that is the 3D structure. You know matchstick, they also have such a cube. So here this is the cube like structure. Okay, and this is composed of single layer, because this is the compound simple epithelium, so this is the single layer, and cube like cells. If you'll see, so there is the 3D structure, cube like cells, and their location, if you'll see, the epithelium of the PCT of the nephron in the kidney has microvilli. You know very well kidney, that is the kidney, they have the 4 to 5 different parts. First if you'll see Bowman capsule, then proximal convoluted tubules, and third is the loop of Mulle, fourth is the that is the distal convoluted tubules, and last is the collecting duct. So if we'll see near to the Bowman capsule, what they have the proximal convoluted tubules, and these proximal convoluted tubules of the nephron in the kidney, it has the microvilli. Okay, if you'll check their location, so where it found in the ducts of the glands. It found in the ducts of the gland, and I had already told, if the epithelial tissue found inside the body, so they behave such a secretion. They behave such a glandular cell, that means they involves in the secretion. And if it is present outside the body, so it involves in the protection in function. So here you can see in ducts of the glands and tubular parts, of the nephron. So tubular parts of the nephron in kidney, they have the cuboidal epithelial cells. Okay, so in ducts of the glands, so I had already told ducts of the glands means ducted glands, and you know very well those glands which have the tube like structure, that is called ducted gland. And ducted glands always secretes the enzyme. Ductless gland secretes hormone, and ducted glands always secretes the enzyme. And the basic function of the cuboidal epithelial tissue involves in the secretion as well as absorption, because this is the glandular cells, so it means they involves in the secretion phenomenon. Okay. Next is they have given the columnar epithelial tissue. Columnar epithelial tissue means you can say they have the pillar-like structure, tall pillar-like structure. And you know, if they have the very tall pillar-like structure, so that time their nucleus located at the base region. So here you can see, if you see these things, so you can easily understand. If you a single layer, this is the simple epithelial tissue, that means single layer, and slender cell means tall pillar-like cells, and nuclei are located at the base. So if you see here, nuclei were located at the base region, and free surface may have the microvilli. If they have the free surface, so some may have the microvilli. Location where it found in the lining of stomach. And intestine. Okay, so where it found, columnar epithelial cells were found. Columnar epithelial tissue it found inside the in the lining of stomach as well as intestine. And basic function of the columnar epithelial tissue is involved in the secretion and absorption, like you can say, that means above we have discussed that you know very well. So what we have discussed above, so here you can say cuboidal, like cuboidal epithelial cells, they also involved in the secretion as well as absorption. So they also involved in the secretion as well as absorption. So next also they have given the ciliated columnar epithelial tissue, ciliated columnar epithelial tissue, or you can say ciliated cuboidal epithelial tissue, ciliated cuboidal epithelial tissue. If you'll see, so if their features, what is the features? So features, they bear the cilia. In case of the ciliated columnar or ciliated cuboidal cells, so here you can say they have the cilia, they have the cilia. So bear the cilia on the free surface. So free surface they bear the cilia. Okay. And where it found, it is the location, inner surface of the hollow organs like bronchioles and fallopian tubes. You know very well about the fallopian tubes. So fallopian tubes were found, you know, fallopian tube is the female reproductive structure. Fallopian tube is the female reproductive structure, and a female reproductive structure where they have the fallopian tube, cervix, vagina, and a uterus. Okay, so here I have drawn the roughly structure of the that is female reproductive system. So this is the vagina, then cervix, then here uterus, and this is the ovary, and this structure is known as the fallopian tube. And these fallopian tube, they are provided with the ciliated columnar epithelial cells, and these ciliated columnar epithelial cells involves in the movement of the ova, and when ovum release, so by the movement of these cuboidal cells, it can pass into the uterus and attached with the endometrium wall of the uterus to cause the formation, to cause the conception. Okay, so here this is have given about the description of the ciliated columnar or ciliated cuboidal cells. Location I had already told, bronchioles, so bronchioles as well as fallopian tubes, so here it located. Okay, and function you know very well, because they have the cilia, so what will the function, you know, here they are going to move the particles. I had already told OA, during the movement of OA it involves to move the particles or mucus, in a specific direction over the epithelium. Clear? To move particles or mucus in a specific direction over the epithelium. I had already told during the fallopian tube you have already seen. So the OA will release, and this OA moves towards the uterus side. How it will move? It generally performed by the ciliated columnar or ciliated cuboidal cells. There. So these ciliated columnar or ciliated cuboidal cells, it involves in the movement of the mucus or some particles. Okay. Next and last types of the simple epithelial tissue, that is the columnar glandular epithelial tissue or cuboidal glandular epithelial tissue. Glandular means they involves in the secretion phenomenon. And they have also two different types. One is the unicellular, another is the multicellular. If you see the feature, so unicellular and another is the multicellular. Unicellular consisting of the isolated glandular cells. They have the unicellular means single isolated glandular cells, and multicellular consisting of the cluster of cells. Cluster means that is the group of cells. Cluster means bunch or group of the cells. Okay. If you see, so here unicellular where located? Unicellular located in the goblet cells of the alimentary canal. You know very well alimentary canal as well as stomach. Stomach also have the goblet cells are mucus cells, and these involves in the secretion of mucus. And multicellular located towards the salivary gland. You know, we have salivary gland, 3 pairs found in our body, and it involves in the function as a secretion of the saliva. They have the enzyme which is known as the ptyalin or salivary amylase, and involves in the digestion of the carbohydrate food particles. Okay. So their function get specialized for secretion. They have involved in the specialized secretion. Goblet cells, they secretion the mucus. Salivary gland secretion the saliva. Salivary gland secretion generally saliva. Okay. So they have also given some special types of the glandular cells. Here you can see exocrine as well as endocrine. You know the difference between exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Exocrine glands considered as a ducted glands always secrete enzyme. Endocrine glands, ductless glands, always secretes hormone. And if you see, so exocrine glands, they secretes the mucus, earwax. So it secretes the mucus, earwax, saliva, oil, milk, digestive enzyme, and other cell products. It secretes by the exocrine glands. And these products are released through the ducts or tubes. I had already told exocrine, also known as the ducted gland. In contrast, that is the endocrine gland. Endocrine gland, they do not have the ducts. They do not have the ducts, and their products are the called hormone. They are directly released. They are directly released into the blood and bathing the gland. They are directly released into the fluid, bathing the glands. And you know one also interesting story about the pancreas. Pancreas also known as the mesocrine gland or heterocrine gland. Why we call heterocrine gland? Because they secretes the both hormone as well as enzyme. So 90 to 97% they secretes the hormone. They secretes the enzyme, and only 3 to 5% they secretes the hormone, which was firstly discovered by the isolates of Langerhans. Okay. So that pancreas also known as the heterocrine or mesocrine gland. Now second type of the epithelial tissue, which is known as the compound epithelial tissue. Why? And this compound epithelial tissue also known as, this is also known as the stratified epithelium. This is also known as the stratified. Why we are saying stratified? Because it have the more than 2 to 3 layers. It have the more than 2 to 3 layers. It means here you can say read. Compound epithelium is made up of more than one layer, multi-layered. So due to this, it is known as the compound epithelium, and thus has limited role in secretion. They have the very limited role in the secretion because they have the more than 2 to 3 layers. So due to this, they have the very less role in the secretion. So you can see here their function. So their function, the main function to provide the protection against, because they have the more than 2 to 3 layers. So due to this, it involves in the protection phenomenon. Clear? So provide protection against chemical and mechanical stress. So it provides the protection against chemical. Chemical means suppose that acid, not acid base, so that is the very dangerous for our body. So it means chemical like sweat and other things. So that provides this provides the protection. They generally provide the protection. And you know very well our stomach, they have also they have the secretion of HCl, but HCl involves in the digestion of everything. So why your stomach is not digested? Because that time there is the secretion of mucus, and this mucus maintains to the means neutralize the acid and mucus. It means neutralize to the acid and prevent from the digestion of the stomach. Clear? So it means you can say compound epithelium involves in the protection against chemical as well as mechanical stress. So it protects from the chemical as well as mechanical stress. And where it found? They found in the dry surface of the skin, DSS, the moist surface of buccal cavity, moist surface of the buccal cavity, you know, and pharynx, moist surface of the pharynx. Okay. And inner lining of ducts and salivary glands. So inner lining of the ducts and salivary glands, which also have the compound epithelium, that is the stratified epithelium. And pancreatic ducts, that is the inner lining of pancreatic ducts. Okay. So here how you learn? So they have also some short trick. So dry surface of the skin, DSS, that is the moist surface of buccal cavity, MSBC, and moist surface of the pharynx, that is the MSP, and inner lining of the duct salivary glands, ILDSG, and pancreatic ducts, that is the ILPD. Okay. So now we have discussed in this video lecture, we have discussed about the epithelial tissue, and now epithelial tissue finished. Okay. And in the next video lecture, we will discuss the next type of the tissue, and which is known as the connective tissue. Okay. So you should to focus and continue attention. This portion is also very important. Okay. And I'm expecting with you, so you can share, subscribe, and like, and hit the bell icon for regular updates. So thank you for your patience, and